Hey, what's up, everyone? Back for a FanDuel video for this Friday slate. The last couple of days have been kind of tough for me, so hopefully this big Friday slate is secure. We have a ton of great teams to stack today. We have a ton of good pitching to look at the top and also as a great value pitchers, so we'll talk about it in this video. So if you're paying up a pitcher, I'm looking at guys like Shane Bieber at 10.8, Verlander at 10.7, even DeGrom. But I think Verlander is probably my favorite at 10.7, given his strikeout stuff, and pitching in Houston instead of in Texas is a big deal. And then if you're not paying up at the top, I'm kind of going down here below 7K. I like quite a bit of options. I like Marcus Stroman is so cheap at 6,800, facing a predominantly righty-heavy Tigers team that strikes out a lot. Stroman, once again, isn't known for his strikeout stuff, only has 88 in 110 innings, but in a matchup like this, he can easily put up like a 40-point game. He has had a couple of 46-point games, so had a 49-point game, so it's just a solid spot for him. On DraftKings, he's much more expensive, so if you want to play Stroman, I'll play him on FanDuel. And then I really like guys like Tyler Mahle down here at just 6,200. Seems like a really good price tag on him. I also don't mind Barria a little bit. He's just a decent option that's facing a pretty facing a decent offense, but they strike out a ton and they're not super scary, and Barria has just a decent strikeout stuff, and the matchup's pretty solid, and he should get a lot of run support facing Leak as the Angels face Leak on the other side. And besides those, I'm not really interested in anybody down here. I'm kind of between Stroman and Tyler Mahle right now. I think those are my two options that I really like, just because it allows you to pay up for any of the big bats that you want. I like Tyler Mahle here. He's facing more righties than lefties, which is always a good sign for him. He's striking out righties at a 29% clip this season. The lefties do hit him pretty well, but there's not a ton of great lefties on this Cardinals team. The better hitters are definitely hit from the right side of the plate. And Tyler Mahle is decent. He's above average strikeout pitcher, averaging a little over a strikeout per inning. He's actually been much better pitching at home in Great American Ballpark. The ERA is 2 runs lower at home, and the Cardinals do strike out a decent amount. And all I'm looking for him at this price tag is like 30 to 40, and I think he can get that job done. So I like him at 62. And then for the bats today, I'm looking at like 4 teams, maybe 3 teams. The Yankees, I think the Angels are my favorite, then the Yankees and some Indians. Or Angels, Indians, Yankees, and then maybe like a couple Pirates I think are sneaky, facing Arrieta, just because the Pirates are extremely lefty-heavy. At third base, I'm going to go with Jose Ramirez. Looks like he is finally back to himself. Look at all these double-digit point games for him recently. He has a lot of stolen base upside. He's really starting to flash his power, as he's up to 9 home runs on the season, and like 4 of them have come in the last like week or 2 weeks. His batting average has climbed over 232 after he was sitting under 200 for most of the year. So you just know that he's on a hot streak. Every time, the more times he's on base, the more chances he gets to steal a base. That's always a good deal. Facing Mike Montgomery, who's getting killed, not a strikeout pitcher. And we know this KC bullpen is also really bad, and the Indians have been on a very, very hot streak, not just scoring a lot of runs, but they're winning a ton of games, and I think there's a great chance to keep that momentum going at home. Ramirez at 3,800 isn't overly expensive. I like him. I love Trout today at 4,900. Facing Mike Leake, this Angels team kind of just owns Leake. If you look at the BVP here, it's not even a small sample size. Leake has been a little better at home, or a lot better at home, but I will still take an offense against him if it's like this Angels offense would just hit him so well, and they've seen him a bunch of times. It's not like a 5 to 10 at-bat sample size like you get with most teams. Like Trout, in 26 at-bats, is hitting over 500 with 3 home runs. Upton's hitting over 400. Ohtani's hitting over 400. Those are 3 really powerful bats. Simmons is hitting the ball really well against him. Fletcher is decent. Even Pujols is okay. Like, this whole team hits him pretty well. He doesn't strike many guys out. I think it's going to be another long night for Leake. And we know this Seattle bullpen is also one of the worst in baseball. So whether Leake's out there on the mound or the bullpen is, I'm expecting the Angels to put up some runs. I love Trout. I like Justin Upton as well at 3,500. Not overly expensive for Upton. He has a lot of power against righties. That's where most of his damage has come this season, against righties. And he's getting to face a bad righty that he has had a lot of success against this season and in the past. Upton is, he still strikes out a lot, but in a matchup like this where Mike Leake doesn't strike many guys out at all, under like 20%. We'll look at his numbers more in depth, but I'm sure it's under like 17% to righties strikeout rate. Upton's been really good, 358 average against righties. He has all 4 home runs have come against righties. It's only a 53 at-bat sample size too, but he has a 604 slugging, 245 ISO, and he has a 50% hard hit rate. All those numbers look great, and Leake just struggles to keep the ball in the ballpark. Once again, top 2, top 3 pitcher in home runs given up. And this Angels team does have a lot of power. Righties have a 294 average and a 546 slugging off of Leake. Only a 14% K rate to righties, so that's a great sign for Upton. Should be able to put the ball in play, and with his power, if he connects with one, decent chance he can leave the park. And down here in util, I think going with another Indian that's really cheap. Luplow, once again, is only $2,600 facing a bad lefty. Against lefties, he bats cleanup just because he has so much power. He had another home run yesterday against a lefty. I'll see if Fangraphs has that updated in here. But he has not much power against righties. All of his damage is coming against lefties, where he gets mostly all of his starts. So this season, it has been updated. He has 9 home runs against lefties and just 90 at-bats, batting over 300. To get him at only 2,600 is an incredible bargain. 389 ISO and a 700 slugging percentage. And hits the ball really hard, 42% hard hit rate, 44% fly ball rate. And we'll look at some plate IQ stuff just because we have a little extra time. So we'll look at the Angels first, just because I think they are in a tremendous spot. So here, all their hitters don't strike out that much, except for Upton. But this matchup, I'll be shocked if he strikes out more than once. Simmons put the ball in play. Fletcher put the ball in play. Trout, I would be shocked if he strikes out in this one. Well, at least against Leake, maybe against the bullpen. Lefties and righties are crushing him. 200 ISO to both sides of the plate. Righties have a 252 ISO. Fly ball rate is 43% to righties. And his pitches, he throws a variety of pitches, but nothing that is really, can be fooled. Nobody's really fooled by any of his pitches that he throws. His sinker gets hit hard. Ohtani has a 587 ISO against the sinker. Upton's almost has a 200 ISO there. Trout has a 244 ISO. If you look at his cutter as well, Trout mashes that pitch, 575 ISO for Trout against the cutter. Upton has a 403 ISO. Just really, really great stuff for Upton and Trout and even Ohtani that I'll be trying my best to get them in my lineup. And we'll look at his fastball. 334 ISO for Trout. Upton is 248. Ohtani's 390. They all just mash his pitches. So I love the Angels. And if we look at the Indians facing Montgomery, so he's mainly like a sinker pitcher. Against righties, sinker is 31% of the time. Oscar Mercado hits that pitch well. It's only a 12 event, so that's a small sample size. But 308, Luplow 280, Ramirez has that 191. So solid numbers there. And if you look at the changeups, Ramirez, Luplow are decent. But it's not like his changeup is one of the best in baseball. So this tool is pretty solid, but as you see, opponents are mashing those pitches. 407 ISO so far for him against his changeup. The fastball, he doesn't throw a ton. And look at the curveball. 308 ISO for Luplow. Ramirez at a 159. I still think that the Indians are in a good spot. And we'll look at the Yankees, just because Good chance for them to do some damage against Freeland, who's getting destroyed. 290 ISO given up to righties, just a 15.6% K rate. He throws his fastball a ton, and 40% of the time, these Yankees crush the fastball. Sanchez, 358 ISO, Voit, 340. Judge, 380. Encarnacion, 301. Even Torres hits that pitch well. And slider as well gets hit pretty hard. 294 ISO for Torres leads the way. I think he could be a nice sneaky play, batting like 8th. But that's kind of it for the video. That's what I like. 3 teams, mainly Angels, Indians, some Yankee bats. I like the Pirates as well. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and good luck today.